What's up, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a very important day as we have lots of data coming out, not to mention some big announcements from President Trump that could be affecting the whole market, including Tesla stock. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 25 in total. And deposit $5,000, and you're guaranteed 60 free stocks. The offer ends very soon at the end of July, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with Tesla stocks. So in my video yesterday, I was saying that Tesla was looking quite bullish, trying to get a bounce. And as you guys could tell, Tesla started off at 333 at yesterday's low and went all the way up to about 355 a share, up 22 points. So we saw a nice move to the upside. But then we got some news from President Trump about how he wants to increase his tariffs on steel and aluminum and officially signed the executive order today to impose those tariffs tomorrow. And we saw Tesla come down a bit. It didn't come down to the point where it dumped. We actually just came down. We still closed somewhat in the green. So overall, we're still holding up quite well. I still believe there's going to be a lot of upside coming for Tesla, but for the shorter term, we might see a little bit of consolidation first. But overall, the setup still remains bullish. If we eventually get this bounce and a big breakout, there is still a lot of upside potential for Tesla as we get very close to the robotaxi launch in Austin, Texas. So I'll talk about some key levels in the next couple of minutes, and also why there's going to be some big data coming out for tomorrow, which could affect the whole market, including Tesla. So let's talk about this. What's happening with the news? Unfortunately, there's a lot of headlines coming out about how Tesla's new sales in Britain are down 45% from earlier. There's also been a lot of talk about how the European sales are down quite a bit in many different regions, from looking at Sweden to Spain to Portugal and Denmark. However, in Norway, I heard the sales are doing really, really well. They're up like over 200%. So in Norway, they're doing quite well, but we're seeing a decrease in a lot of Tesla sales in Europe in different regions. So that's not the best of news, at least so far. Besides that, just keep in mind that President Trump also has promised to hike steel and aluminum tariffs to 50% starting tomorrow. He's basically going to be signing this executive order today. So today he wants to sign this executive order on the tariffs, where he's going to be increasing them from 25% to 50% on steel and aluminum. And then they're going to be imposed tomorrow. So that's some very, very big news. He says he's doing this to protect the US steel industries, and he's doing this for many different reasons. Ever since this announcement came out that he's going to be signing the executive order, we did see the market dip just a bit. SPY, the QQQ, and many other tickers dipped and then just bounced, made a full recovery. But Tesla dipped and it hasn't really recovered yet. We'll see if we get that bounce at least moving forward. This is also going to depend on some other factors. So tomorrow is going to be Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. Keep in mind we have Bostic giving a speech at 8:30 a.m. That could be kind of minor. Then at 9:45 a.m. we have the S&P Global Composite and Services PMI reports. That could cause a little bit of volatility. And then at 10 a.m., that's when we have the big data coming out. We have the ISM Services PMI, business activity, employment, new orders, and prices. Why is this so important? Because firstly, the services sector is going to be very huge for the economy. Secondly, the new orders give us a lot of insights about what's happening with supply chains, and then what's happening with forward-looking data. And then the prices tell us a little bit about inflation. So all this data is going to be very important for the month of May, and it may cause a very, very big move in the stock market. If the services data is very strong, the market could bounce and push more. If it's bad data, we could be looking for a big rug pull. So please keep that in mind. So expect volatility tomorrow at 10 a.m. Now, when it comes to other pieces of news, besides this news about President Trump's steel tariffs that caused the market to dip a bit, but then it ended up bouncing, besides that, most of the other pieces of news have been quite good. So Tom Lee, who's known for being a big bull, he's from Fundstrat. He mentioned that he's still very bullish in the markets, and there's a good chance we could see another leg up, which could be very good for like Tesla and many others. He's very, very bullish in the markets, so he could be correct about that if we get the right factors in play. One reason why the market's been pushing, which is also good for Tesla, is the fact that many semiconductors, GPUs, motherboards, and many other computer parts have been subjected to lower tariffs for longer. So the Section 301 tariff exclusions has been extended until August 31st. This means that these products are going to be subjected to lower tariffs for a longer period of time than previously expected, which is a good piece of news. On top of this, there's been some news from the White House about how they're sending letters to many different countries to inform them to make offers with the US to trade because the reciprocal tariff deadline is coming up on July 9th. So, what that means is that, remember, on Liberation Day, President Trump imposed the reciprocal tariffs, right? Those were very high tariffs, like 30 to 60% on a bunch of different countries. Obviously, countries weren't happy about that. So President Trump paused them for 90 days. That pause is going to be expiring on July 9th. And that's the reason why the White House is reminding all these countries, you got to make those deals. We got to get those deals done. We need to see the trade deals because the deadline is coming up. So that's what's actually good for the stock market, because there's been a lot of talk about good trade deals coming. President Trump and his team have announced that President Trump will most likely be speaking to Xi Jinping, the leader of China, as soon as Friday. That could be big news. The last time they spoke was before President Trump's inauguration, so when they speak again, that could cause a big move. China is one of our biggest trade partners. If we get a good deal, that could be awesome news. China accused the U.S. of violating trade policies, and the U.S. accused China of doing the same thing, of violating the trade deals. So both sides are seeing a lot of tension, but the tension's being alleviated as we're seeing some tariffs being delayed. And simultaneously, President Trump wants to meet up with the leader. If they come up with a big deal, if something good comes out of this could also be bullish for the stock market. Tesla depends a lot on China, so don't forget it's going to be affecting Tesla too. And then on top of this, we have Howard Lutnick saying that there's going to be a potential deal between the US and India coming very soon. That could be big news as well. And there's been a lot of talk about these deals. There's also been another exception on Chinese made chips from a 25% tariff. So that's some more good news as well. So like I said, guys, most of the news is good, right? Trade deals with India, trade deals with China, President Trump meeting up with Xi Jinping, the White House saying there's going to be more trade deals coming with more countries, negotiations with Europe. A lot of this news is very optimistic and the market is loving it. That's why the market is pushing the way it is. The jobs numbers were also good today, so the market is just happy. That's why we look more bullish, and there is more potential to go higher. This could greatly benefit Tesla if this continues. Right now, greed is still making up the majority of sentiment. We'll see if this shifts or not. Momentum's at extreme fear. We'll see if that shifts. And then the put to call option ratio is kind of flat right here, not really doing much. And the VIX remains bearish, which is technically bullish for the markets. Lastly, when it comes to our earnings, we have Dollar Tree tomorrow, then we have Broadcom on Thursday. So get ready for all of this. We just got CrowdStrike's earnings. If you guys are interested, you guys can check that out. I'm just going to kind of talk about the charts from this point on. So with that being said, I'm just going to focus on the charts and nothing else. What's happening with the markets? What's happening with all this news? So when we look at Tesla starting off on the daily time frame, the daily is looking a little bit weaker, so there could be a chance we dip a little bit more. But keep in mind, this is just another buying opportunity. It's another blessing in disguise, because I still believe Tesla has the potential to run pretty hard once we get very close to the robotaxi launch, whenever that's going to be. Most likely, some sources are saying it's going to be on June 12th. On June 12th, they might be announcing the launch of robotaxi in Austin, Texas. 10 of the models could be coming out, but Elon Musk and Tesla have confirmed it's going to be by the end of June. So we don't know for sure. So June 12th or the end of June, one of those dates. Either way, by the end of June, I do expect this to run more. I still think we could be running for $400 a share, but we're not ready to get that breakout yet. Although we have like this inverse head and shoulders, or if you want to look at this from a white coffee and perspective, it doesn't matter. We might come down again, consolidate for some time, but once we form that bottom, this is the left shoulder, this is the right shoulder forming. Once we break this, we easily push for 400, in my opinion. There is still a lot of upside potential, but that's like a more longer term outlook. The short term is actually very, very different. When you zoom in and go to our 30 minutes time frame, what you'll see is that we're still forming this accumulation right here. Tesla's also still kind of weak after what happened with, the new tariffs on steel and aluminum that are officially going to be imposed. So it depends on the data tomorrow, the ISM services numbers. Does this cause the market to bounce or dip? Tesla is still favoring that it wants to form a base here, so I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla kind of like comes down a bit. But then we want to form a base near 340. We want to form that base If we make a higher low compared to this low, then it's possible Tesla will try to rebound and form a sort of like a cup and handle, or see another, attempts to break out higher. There's a lot of potential for us to do this as time goes on. Now, going over the hypotheticals, if you're a big bear, let's just say the data is very bad, we get bad news for Tesla. You want to see us lose 340 and then 337. If we lose those, I do expect the lows to be retested and we could be dipping a lot more. If we're bullish, you want to see Tesla get back above and hold 348. If we hold 348, expect this high to be retested, if not broken, to form that cup and handle to start breaking out higher. I'm in the middle with this though, so it depends on a big test tomorrow. It depends on the data coming out for tomorrow. We might retest 340 or so, but I want to see, can we base here and then eventually try to get back above 348 to bounce. I think it's possible we do something like this, but here's what you're watching for. We have this low at 333. We came back up. Can we make a higher low? Do we take out this low or do we make a higher low? I want to see a higher low. I want to see us hold above, this 330 area, hold that and then bounce from there. If we make a higher low, that's going to be a very, very good sign of strength. And that's what I'm watching for going into tomorrow and beyond. A small dip in consolidation and then possibly a bounce. If we see the whole market bouncing, Tesla likes to play a game of like follow the leader. It likes to follow the trend. It loves to do that as of recent. So that's what I'm seeing for tomorrow. A retest of 340 in consolidation, then there could be a nice bounce after that to start pushing back up towards the 350 plus area, right? We could be retesting 342 to 340. That's going to be where the 50 EMA is. But then as long as we make a higher low compared to this low, we can just start bouncing back up. There's a good chance of that happening. I don't want to see Tesla lose 330. I'd like to see us hold that for now. And there's a good chance we're going to be doing that. So look for a small dip when we open in consolidation, but then we could be bouncing as time goes on. And then keep in mind, even if we do dip just a little bit and consolidate, it's not the end of the world. The setup is still bullish on the bigger time frames. So keep that in mind on Tesla's daily. Also, if you go to the weekly, whether you look at this from a white coffee perspective or anything else, this also resembles a large cup and handle. So if we consolidate for like another week or so, we could still break out a lot more going into next week. There's still so much upside potential as we approach the end of June and get closer to the robotaxi launch. SPY is bullish on the weekly and the daily time frames, but it depends on our data. So here's what I'm going to be watching for. It's very simple, actually. So you guys could quite clearly see there is a inverse head and shoulders right over here on the bigger time frames. If we break 598, we're looking for an attempt to push for 600 and then eventually the all-time high. But we're gonna kind of like zoom in and go over like the more precise levels about how to really watch for this first. So if you're a bear, if you want to be a big bear, you want to see SPY lose 595. If that fails us, we're looking for a retest of 588 and eventually these lows right here if we end up failing right down here. So if we lose 595, we could start dipping back down to 591, then 588. Watch those two supports, and if those fails, we could be more bearish if we get lots of bad data and a rug pull, just hypothetically. If you're bullish, you want to see SPY basically break 598. If we break that, we're looking for 600 plus or above. In my opinion, I think what's going to happen is this. This is my prediction. I think we're going to try to go higher, but it's going to go like this. We're not just going to break out immediately. We might see a little bit of a consolidation move first because resistance is getting tougher the higher we go. We might consolidate tomorrow morning, then push for 598, consolidate again. And then if we break this, we're looking for 600 to 602 for another leg up. I think there's a good chance of that potentially happening given the current trend. SPY had a low here, made a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and we're continuing to break out. But if you want to be a big bear, like I said, you need some bad data. This move depends on what data comes out tomorrow. The chart is looking more bullish, so we are technically favoring upside. From a technical standpoint, we're looking more bullish. On the QQQ, it's the same thing. Like I said before, when you zoom out, go to like the 4-hour time frame, we look very bullish. We're forming an inverse head and shoulders right here, just like SPY. And then if you look at like the 30 minutes time frame, you guys can see it more clearly. We also happen to have this inverse head and shoulders. So we have this left shoulder ahead and then a right shoulder. If we break and hold above 528, we're looking for 530, then eventually 532. If we're bearish, you want to see us lose 524. If that fails us, we're looking for a dip back down. Looking at the setup, we're at this 530 area. We were here like last week. We came down, and then this was like our left shoulder, right? This is the head, this is the right shoulder, and we're still looking more bullish. Now, If you want to be a bear, you want to see this thing lose 625. If that fails us, we're looking for 623. Lose 623 to 625 and we dump lower. As long as we hold that, though, we could still try to break 628. Sorry, did I say 623? Sorry, I meant to say 523. I do apologize about that. 523. If we fail at 523, we turn more bearish. So excuse me, guys. And then if you want to be bullish, you want to see us break past 528. If that breaks, we're looking for 530 or above to start breaking out a lot higher. So what I think is going to happen is this: just like SPY, I predict that we're going to see a consolidation move. We're going to see some chop like this, but then we're going to attempt for 528 again. And then we could be breaking out for 530 as long as the data is good and we get some good news from President Trump. We could be looking for an attempt for 530 plus. Now, whether we get that breakout depends on a lot of different factors. Of course, it depends on what happens involving our economic data and such, but there is upside potential nonetheless. For the IWM, we have this high up here around 211. We have a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. If we continue to hold above 208, we're favoring 211. If we lose 208, we're looking for 207.5 and 206. So we'll see if we end up holding those supports or not. But my gut tells me that we're going to consolidate between 210 and 208 for some time. Then we're going to try to break out for 211 as our potential target, looking at the current setup. For other factors, we have ES. Okay, ES looks really good. This is actually one of the best setups. It's the best setup because when you go to our 4-hour time frame, this is like a very, very nice looking cup and handle. Looks really, really nice. Very, very nice breakout. Looks good. Secondly, when you zoom out even more, what you'll see is that this also resembles a very clear left shoulder, head, and right shoulder for an inverse head and shoulders, which typically leads to very, very bullish outcomes for all-time highs. So we have a double confluence that's bullish. We look bullish right now, right? Right, you have this cup and handle, but you need to break this resistance right over here to continue to go higher. So watch that very closely. So here's what's going on. We have this inverse head and shoulders right here, right? So from how I see things, we have 6,000 is where we started from this left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. Now, if we end up failing at 5950, we could turn back down towards the lower 5900s, and there could be some hope for bears to bring us down if we get bad data. As long as we hold 5950, we're favoring 6,000. If that breaks, look for new highs. We're going to be breaking to the 6,000, 6,050, 6,100, all the way up to new highs if that breaks out. This chart is favoring that tomorrow we're going to see a consolidation move. As long as we don't lose like 5950, we're going to be fine. Then we're looking for 6,000 if that breaks. We might consolidate and eventually break that to push for 6,050 plus. There's upside potential for this cup and handle. I think there's a good chance we see more upside, so please keep that in mind. For others out there, we also happen to have NQ. NQ is looking more bullish. This looks like a cup and handle. As long as we don't lose this high over here at 21,500 to start dumping, we're looking more bullish. We're favoring, we want to go back up to 21,850. We may consolidate here, then push for 21,850, then eventually push for 22,000 as we look more bullish. Bitcoin, however, is just trading sideways, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like this. Might come down to 105,000 balance and trade sideways before it starts breaking out for 108,000. For Tesla, like I said before, the 4-hour looks pretty good. It is possible we dip a little bit, but I'm going to be watching to see, does Tesla end up making a higher low? Do we take out this low to be more bearish, or do we make a higher low here, rebound, and then start this attempt to get back up, forming like a cup and handle? It's possible we make a higher low and we bounce. I'm hoping for that. For Nvda, looks bullish, inverse head and shoulders. If we lose 140, we're looking for 137. As long as we hold above 140, we're looking for an attempt to push for 144 or above. So we'll see if that breaks. Apple's making higher lows. So long as we don't lose 200, we're favoring 205 as our potential target. For Netflix, we're making higher lows right here. If we lose 1200, we're looking for a big dump. And as long as we hold above that, we're favoring 1225 or above. MSTR or MicroStrategy is looking bullish. Nice accumulation. This is looking like an inverse head and shoulders, a left shoulder, a head, which is our double bottom, and then a right shoulder. Break resistance at 390, we're looking for 400. And if we end up losing 377, we're looking for a dip. I am favoring this is going to continue to uptrend for that 400 target. It does look a bit more bullish for now. Celsius looks bullish. So long as we don't lose 38.5, we're favoring 40, and then eventually 40.5 or so. I think it has more upside. For Supermicro, we have a nice double bottom. This looks bullish, but it depends on if we could break past 44. Double bottom, or also known as a big George W. Break this 44 area, then we break out higher. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. Palantir's a double bottom is making higher lows. As long as we don't lose 130, we're favoring 135 plus. Rivian is looking bullish. As long as we don't lose 13.78, we're actually favoring 14.69 to 15. So it has upside potential. SoFi looks bullish, making higher lows. I want to see us hold above 13.5 to push for essentially 13.85. AMD is looking bullish, making higher lows off this double bottom. I want to see it hold above 114. I do think we could be visiting 118.8 to start breaking out towards those highs. ARM is also holding support right here. As long as we don't lose 125, we're favoring that we might be making a higher low to start pushing for like the 132 area. For PayPal, we have a double bottom right here. If we end up losing 70.8, we're going to be dumping more. And as long as we hold above that, we're favoring 72. For Coinbase, we're making higher lows as long as we don't lose 253. We're going to be favoring a pushback up to 262.5 to eventually 265. We look more bullish. For Amazon, if we can't hold 203.85, we're looking for a dump. And as long as we hold that, we're favoring 208. For Meta, we're making higher lows right here. But I do think we might be retesting this level right here around 662.5 to 660. Might see a small dip to 660, and we'll see if we bounce here. If we hold above 660, we're looking for that bounce, but I do see a small dip coming for now. Google had some litigation news, might be dipping to 166, and we'll see if we bounce. Microsoft also might retest 460 to 462 flat for a small dip before it tries to bounce higher for another leg up. DJT has an inverse head and shoulders, break and hold 22, and we're looking for 23.69. The VIX is looking bearish as we're making lower highs here, which tends to be bullish for the markets. And then the 10-year and dollar are both kind of flat, not really doing much. So the market looks bullish. We have a nice cup and handle on SPY. If we see a very, very nice breakout after some tariff news comes out or whatever the catalyst is, good data, for example, tomorrow, that could also benefit Tesla stock. I want to see if Tesla gets a break right here. We might dip a bit, but let's see if we make a higher low compared to this low. If that's the case, we're looking for a nice attempt to push higher. Let's see Tesla dip towards the lower 340s, and let's see if we bounce. I hope we get a bounce. Otherwise, we're going to just continue to base. My main assessment is that even if we do see a dip, let's just say there's the worst case, we do get some kind of dip, it's nothing but a buying opportunity for the rally that's about to come as you approach the robotaxi event, in my opinion. That's my view of Tesla, guys. Have a good one. Thank you so much for listening. Let's see if Tesla makes a higher low compared to 333, and we're going to be looking for a nice rebound. Thanks again, and peace out.